part's going to be on how to cook with your herbs. Second part's going to be on medicinal herbs, and we'll talk a little bit about growing conditions throughout the presentation. There's also a sheet in the middle of your packet that gives a lot of the growing conditions too. Yes, that's it right there. It's the one with the very small writing.
I was wondering if it had an extra,
yes,
extra one.
And at the bottom there's a key that tells you what all the, there's just so many herbs, it's hard to fit them all in one sheet. But on your other one that says medicinal and culinary, there's a few hints on growing those. We couldn't cover every herb there is, but we tried to touch on some of the best ones. Okay, in your cooking, you can either use dried herbs or fresh herbs. The dried herbs are very strong. I mean, they're stronger than the fresh herbs, so you want to make sure, if you have a recipe that says use a teaspoon of dried herbs, you'll use a tablespoon of fresh herbs. So when you dry the herbs...
Can you repeat? 1 teaspoon?
1 teaspoon of dried equals 1 tablespoon of fresh. Yes.
Thank you.
When you have dried herbs, they're smaller, plus all the water's gone, so it makes them more concentrated. And if you have dried herbs and you want to rehydrate them, you can either soak them in oil, lemon juice, vinegar, or water for several minutes before you use them. You can also, if you're using them in a soup or a stew, just put them in as is. You don't have to rehydrate them. Now when you're using your fresh herbs, you want to add them at the very end of your dish, because you don't want to cook them down too much. If you're using dried herbs, you can let those cook with all your other flavors in your soups. You can add them in the middle of it, or wherever you want them to be. And if you want a copy of this, you'll write your email address on here. I'll try to send you a copy of this too.
Now, when you're talking about your fresh and dry,
Yes.
it doesn't matter, like if you raise them yourself and that would be like dried in a dehydrator?
Yes, you
And
can
then-
dry them in a dehydrator. You can hang them to dry, air dry them.
Your oven?
Yes, you can put them in your oven on a very low temperature to dry.
Okay, I dehydrate, that's the reason I was wondering.
Yes.
And then, are most of these left whole as herbs for storage, or do you grind them, or when you're saying like 1 tablespoon or teaspoon equals 1
That's
tablespoon
after
and
they're,
this and that?
yes, you dry them, when you dry them, they're whole. And then you can
Right.
grind them up
But
however
they
fine you
do
want
shrink
them.
tremendously.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, some of your herbs like thyme, you probably won't have to grind them at all because the leaves are very tiny already. But basil or
We're using a lot of rosemary
parsley,
and stuff
yes,
right now.
you may have to grind those after you dry them.
Okay, so you use them, just crushing them? put them
Yeah,
in your-
just
in your
crush
soup,
them,
okay.
or you can use a little pestle thing. Okay, when you're trying to mix herbs together, you want 1 strong herb to 2 milder herbs. You don't want to get too many strong herbs and mix herb flavors together, or else it tastes too strong. If you want to find out what herbs taste like mixed together before you use them in another dish, take some cream cheese like we have here, mix your herbs in it, let it sit overnight, and taste it, and then you'll know if you like that herb combination or not. You don't have to use a whole thing of cream cheese. You can cut off a little bit and put a few herbs in it. If you have children that don't like anything green in their food, you can take the herbs, wrap them in cheesecloth, and then put them in a pot of water and let it boil and steep for the flavor of the herbs to come out, and then use that in your cooking. Use the water in your cooking. And then that way you get the herb flavor, but you don't have little green specks all in it. You can also use the whole sprigs of herbs. There are some woody herbs like rosemary. You can put them on the grill, and the flavor will come from the smoke off the herb, rosemary onto your meats and vegetables that are on the grill. Or you can actually take the stem itself, and you'll see a picture of it later, and use it as a skewer. And then get the rosemary flavor in your meat and vegetables that way.
Let me ask you something. I smoke a lot of meat.
Yes.
Okay? If you take something like your rosemary, your smoking side, I actually cook using gas on the one side,
Right.
smoke comes from the other side, filters through. If you take these and put them on your smoking wood, will that bring it
Yes.
into the,
Or you could put a little pan of water in there and then put your herbs in it. And
just let it steam up
Mm-hmm.
on the pit?
Yeah. Now rosemary would be one that would work well on the wood too, but your leafy herbs probably wouldn't work as well on that. You'd want to put them in the water. Okay, now here's some combinations. Earlier when we did this class, that's what some people wanted, copies, because I forgot to put these in your handout. So these are some good combinations of herbs. And you can try them out, or you can make your own combinations. A lot of times you'll see oregano and marjoram interchanged because their flavors are very similar to each other. And this is a good combination for Italian food, sauces.
Now, you had said a while ago that chamomile's not good if you have asthma.
If you have asthma, you shouldn't use chamomile.
Well, what if you have it like mixed there?
You really shouldn't use chamomile if you have asthma because it does give an allergic reaction. Do you have any more?
Yeah. Okay. Does anybody need some extra time to write?
You said you're going to send it.
Yeah. If you wrote your email on there.
Okay,
yeah.
so, ma'am, everything on there you're gonna email us, all the writing?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
So what do we sign up?
Just turn your meeting.
Okay, basil, you can add to tomato dishes, any of your tomato sauces and dishes. You can make a pesto out of it, which is mainly a bunch
Where
of
do we
crushed
start?
basil.
That's the sweet basil.
You can put it in soups, cream cheeses, salads, or butters. You can also even make basil jelly, which works good. You mix it with the cream cheese and the crackers, or you can put it on meat. Either way.
That'll be on what you're sending?
I can put it
also-
on there, yes.
Okay. You send that.
Excellent on your meats.
On beans?
Meats.
Oh,
Use it as a glaze then?
Yes.
Make wood out of it.
Yes.
Right. Okay, catnip. You don't normally think of catnip as culinary, but it makes a great tea, and you can even chop it up and put it in a salad. And of course, your cats love it.
It was too big a nip there.
Yeah.
What does that tea taste like then? Is that kind of?
It's kind of tangy, but it's good with honey in it. It's got a good flavor. It's kind of minty, but tangy. And it is that,
Right.
and I was going to give the medicine parts of it.
Oh,
I want
okay.
to do my part.
Um,
We'll get to that.
Cilantro is great in Mexican dishes and hot sauces. Now I'll put on here it's cheaper to buy it than to grow it, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. If you grow it from seed, it's not very expensive to grow. But cilantro will bolt and go to seed every 3 weeks. So you pretty much have to replant it every 3 weeks. Plus it won't grow in hot weather above 75 degrees. So it's more of a fall to spring plant.
Yeah. Well, right, isn't that
Is that what
everything?
you're telling
It'll
us?
grow in the fall and into most of the spring, but then it doesn't like it after that.
Have you lived in Texas long?
I've lived in Texas,
It's
yes.
100 degrees in December in Texas.
Yeah. Well, in December it likes our weather though. It doesn't mind that as much. But I think above 75, where you get to the 80s and 90s,
How
doesn't
low will
like
it grow then? What's the low end of that? 75 is the high. Will it withstand freezing or light freezes?
Light freeze, but nothing over.
Not a hard freeze, no. But if you plant it early spring, when we usually don't have a hard freeze anymore, maybe even in February sometimes, and you might have to plant it in a pot and get the seed to germinate, because seeds don't like to germinate in cold weather. And then once it bolts and goes to seed, if you let the seed stay in the ground, they'll come back up the next fall.
Come back.
So now
But
is a
it's
good time to
2
plant
herbs
it.
in one.
Yeah.
It's coriander and it's cilantro.
If you collect the seeds, you have coriander.
Now, that would definitely be hydrated ground for storage or,
It does not dry well. It does not dry well. You can try it, but it doesn't dry well at all. So, you can buy it year-round in the grocery store.
The one way, I happened upon this by accident, I actually dried it in the refrigerator one time. I had gotten some cilantro, and when you store herbs in your refrigerator, you can put them in a jar of water, and they'll keep longer that way. And I had left it in the refrigerator and just forgot about it, and it dried on its own in the
But
refrigerator.
did it keep its fragrance?
I don't
That's where it
remember.
says
how would you
it
keep
loses
it
its
fresh
fragrance.
for use?
But you
for
can
use?
freeze it, not dry it, freeze it, chop it up, put it in little bitty ice
That's what I was
cubes.
gonna say, I've done that with the basil
Yeah.
and the cilantro.
Just little bitty ice
And
cubes.
then that way you pop them out of the trays and put them in a bag, and then you can put them in your
And
second.
seal it. The herbs that don't dry well, they freeze well.
In ice cubes.
In ice cubes. Not too much water, just put it in, like that little tray we have there. Just put it in there, or even a little bigger one, and just a little bit of water,
And if you
and then
get-
freeze it.
If you get one of these that have a silicone on the bottom, they pop out really easily.
Make sure you label it, or you won't know what you got.
Yeah, and if you don't, when you clean out the freezer, it's what you got stewed, so.
Yeah, just throw it in there.
What you got to do?
Dill, you can use the leafy, weedy part, is what you see here on these cucumbers, or you can use the seed. The seed is stronger, has a more pungent flavor. The leafy part is a milder flavor. You can use either one in pickles, depending on how strong you want the dill flavor. So you can use the dill weed in your vegetables, casseroles, soups, vinegars, butters, a lot of different uses. You can add it to the seed, you can add it to breads, cheeses, salad dressings, pickles. The seed, a lot of times you're trying to get the flavor out of it. You're not wanting to eat the seed itself because it's a little harder to chew. Fennel, you can use either the bulb or the seed, and it's used when cooking fish. You can add it to sauerkraut, you can add it to sausages. If you grow fennel, don't put it next to your dill or most of your other herbs, because fennel will kill your dill. It has something it puts off in the ground that kills your dill and some of your other herbs. Marjoram. It's milder than oregano, so if you don't like the strong flavor of oregano, use marjoram. It'll be a milder flavor. You can put it in sausages, stuffing, salads, soups, cheese, oils, vinegars, and butters.
Let me tell you what, you use a lot of that when cooking poultry.
Yes.
Turkeys or chickens or corny shins, anything like that. Spray
Right.
it down with that before you start cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Very good on poultry.
Now, a lot of people don't think of lavender as culinary, but you can use it. You can use it to flavor vinegars, jellies. You can even put it in ice cream. Yes, you can make a tea out of it. You can also mix it with some other herbs and rub it on poultry too. Mint. Mint has a lot of uses. You can put it in teas and water if you want a flavored water. Put it in fruit dishes, cheeses, butters, candy. It's great if you make a mint jelly like this. You can put it on lamb roast and lamb chops or any meat really.
Doesn't matter what kind of mint, because I've got 2 different types. I've got spearmint and I've got peppermint.
Either one of those are great for cooking.
I wanted to try some mint jelly this year and
Oh, it's
just get it
good.
done.
It's good.
Now be careful when you grow mint, it's invasive.
Oh,
It'll
yeah.
take over everything.
Oh, yes.
Some
And
people take those chimney tops and put them in it.
it'll
Put
survive.
that under
Yeah.
It
the.
survives the winter, it survives the freezes,
Yes.
it will come back.
Oregano is another one that spreads. It's not quite as invasive as mint, but it will spread all over. Sometimes you'll see it called wild marjoram. You can use it in pizza, Italian dishes, butters, cream cheeses, oils, and vinegars. If you make a butter out of it, you can put it on corn.
It's interesting, 'cause we make our own butter, we grind our own peppers. so-
Okay.
Then you'll like the herbal butter then, to make your own herbal butter in the rolls, that's good.
Hmm.
Okay, parsley, there are two types of parsley. The curly parsley is mostly for decoration. Italian flat-leaf parsley has a lot more flavor in it. It's rich in vitamins A, B, and C. Has calcium, iron, phosphate. You use it in soups, stews, vegetables, sauces. Parsley butter is great on potatoes. Parsley is one that I use all the time. Always using parsley. It's a biennial, so it grows for 2 years, then it wants to go to seed. But it loves cool weather, so it will grow during the summer, but it looks wimpy and like it's going to die, and then it just perks back up and looks real pretty in the winter again.
Kind of like that myself.